So welcome back to the Arsenal podcast. Kossi's Arsenal podcast. We are back. We're back with another banger video. Alexander Lacazette crisis and Odsonne Edouard as the potential replacement because Edu and Mikel Arteta think they need a new striker. Alexander Lacazette is not sufficient enough. He has scored 4 goals this season. One was a penalty, obviously, against Liverpool. But the first 3 games he started for Arsenal, he scored. So maybe he's worth talking about. Is it time for Alexander Lacazette to leave? In the summer, among all the players we were talking about who could leave, who should leave, who the club deserves to to rest and sell off, Alexander Lacazette was one of those players that we thought maybe they could leave the club. Maybe it was time for them to leave in the summer. But a vote on this channel decided that Alexander Lacazette was still needed. That was almost 9 weeks back. When I asked people on this podcast whether Alexander Lacazette is still needed, the answers were shocking. It's like you guys have never defended him before. But Eduoard and Arteta have similar thoughts. They think Odsonne Edouard or Odsonne Edouard, who has been linked with Arsenal now more often than before, and Odsonne Edouard, who has been linked with Arsenal almost for 2 consecutive transfer windows, I suppose, has come back in the news. My name is Kossi, and this is Kossi's Arsenal podcast. So let us get the party started. Now reports today indicate that Mikel Arteta and Edu, because they work so closely in determining who comes in at Arsenal, who goes out of the club, they are saying that Alexander Lacazette could actually be out for sale, either in the January transfer window or in the summer. Now, in the summer, I think he will have 1 year left on his contract. Of course, in the January transfer window, that looks like the perfect opportunity, the perfect timing to sell Alexander Lacazette. Of course, when a player has just 1 year left onto their contract and you have a chance to sell them in the January transfer window before the summer, that's the perfect time. That's the perfect time to sell them because in the summer, they're literally worthless. I mean, their value is so low. A player that has 1 contract, most of the clubs like Juventus, of course, are the clubs interested. Atletico Madrid, those are the sort of clubs interested. They would rather wait another season when he's 31 and take him on a free. That's what they did with Aaron Ramsey. Ramsey could have brought us around 30 million or 25 million because he was a top class player. He's a good player, natural talent, beautiful player. The skill, the talent, and what he brings onto the pitch. If we sold players like Alex Iwobi at 30 million, then Aaron Ramsey could have brought in some good amount of money. But he wanted a free transfer. What Juventus did, they tied him down on a contract. His contract runs down at Arsenal, and then he just crosses over to Italy. I think that's what clubs are going to do with Alexander Lacazette. So if we are going to sell him, then we need to sell him in the January transfer window. Now that is where the question comes in: how much is this guy worth? How much is Alexander Lacazette worth? He has spent almost 5 good seasons at Arsenal. There is no season, I've not seen any season, Lacazette, Alexander, the French international striker at Arsenal, shirt number 9. I've not seen any season this guy has stepped up to help Arsenal. Like Mason Greenwood, like Martial, like Rashford, like Aubameyang, like Alexis Sanchez, all these guys have had at least a season. Apart from, I bring in Mason Greenwood because I think you can just compare him to Lacazette. Last season, this kid just comes out of nowhere and pushes Manchester United into top 3. Lacazette at 45 million pounds, you expected him to do more than that. On paper, he makes our club look expensive. But actually, there isn't any work he does. There isn't. I'm not judging him from last season. I'm not judging him from this season. No. Alexander Lacazette has not done anything. In every season you feel like he needs another season. And time is running out. He's 29. Next year he's going to be 30. And probably that's the end of him. So for me, I would agree with Edu. I would agree with Mikel Arteta. I would let him go at this point in time. I was one of the guys who are defending him in the summer, but right now, I think if we can get a 20 million, 15 million, 25 million, 26, you let him go. You let him go. There isn't anything. It's just, he's going to add to Arsenal. Because he has already put us in a situation that if Aubameyang doesn't score, then there is no scoring at the club. Now, you don't want that. Trust me, you don't want that. You have two strikers, but one can only hold up play, cannot make that ball cross the line. He's the center man, he's the center forward, main man. He gets all the chances because almost 90% chances that our forwards have got, it has been Alexander Lacazette. And how many did he put away? Why should I say? All of them, almost all of them have gone begging. So, in that line, we are linked with Odsonne Edouard now. So let us talk the Edouard talk, because Odsonne is a young international, French international with Celtic. Obviously, that much, He was one of the top scorers in the Scottish Premier League last season. He's playing with Celtic, like I said. He's a natural number 9, young. I think he's 21 years of age. We are linked with him as replacement for Alexander Lacazette, as he has been linked before. There are not any close moves, though, when it comes to Odsonne Edouard. No close moves. I think we are closer. We would be even closer to Szoboszlai, whose agent says we are interested. But we are not close to Odsonne Edouard. But I want to look at Odsonne Edouard as potential replacement of Alexander Lacazette. Now, most of you are going to say, Kosi, how much do you know about Odsonne Edouard? Not much, obviously not much. I've seen him score goals in the Scottish Premier League. I've seen him score, seen him score goals in the Europa League. But the Scottish Premier League has brought some good players, but it's not a league that you think has that kind of competition that whoever survives it is going to survive elsewhere. Because if you look at how many players have come from Scotland, you think about, okay, look at the regime of Swansea. The regime of Swansea, it had a couple of players from Scotland. But you can also look at, was it Rams? No, Ramsey comes from Wales. How many players have Virgil van Dijk? Very well. I was looking for that man, Virgil van Dijk. He comes to Southampton and he gets a great season, very great season. Kisunian, I think he joined Swansea. Then, yeah, he came from Celtic, and then he came to Swansea. So you look at the kind of players that have come into from Scotland to come to other leagues. They're not so many. Of course, you cannot forget Wanyama from Celtic again to Tottenham Hotspur. But for me, it's not the kind of league. I've seen prolific strikers, more prolific strikers in Scotland. More prolific than Odsonne Edouard. Rangers had a guy called Kane Miller. I don't know whether you guys have seen him. Kane Miller. What a striker he was. James Boyd. Both of them were at Rangers. The Rangers that had dominated the Scottish Premier League for some time before they were relegated. I don't know, because of financial issues or because of match fixing. I don't know. But what I know, as a person who loves Celtic, I was really happy when those boys were taken down there, because their dominance was just not to be broken yet. But then we got a way around them. So the Scottish league has good talents, but it's not a strong league that when a player it's like the championship. Actually, for me, it's even weaker than the championship. But even in the championship, you don't see so many players come out. You don't see last season. Who do you talk about? Maybe Benrahma. Yeah, may talk about Benrahma. You may talk about the players at Leeds. They're not so many. So that is Odsonne Edouard at Celtic. One of the top scorers, like I said, he was one of the top scorers last season in Scotland, linked with Arsenal. Will he work? Can he work for us? That's what I usually focus on. Can he work for us? Because for me, I might not go with the statistics. Yeah, I do love facts. I want facts. When someone speaks, I want them to speak the facts. But statistics at times are misleading. Like this season, we look to be one of the the best defensive sides, but really are we? I'm not really sure. But yeah, we defend well. Don't attack me. We defend well. So I was telling you guys, Odsonne Edouard might fit into Arsenal. He can't replace Alexander Lacazette so well, but he will need a person to create for him. He's not this kind of strikers, the Kun Agueros, the Aubameyang type, the Robert Lewandowski is also to be fed. So he's not this kind of strikers that are going to look for the ball and create the opportunities for themselves when they're not there. Not really. You've got to create for him. And that means you need a good creator. Of course, that is if we get Dominic Szoboszlai. Some people really pronounce that name in a weird way. Szoboszlai. I don't know, but for me, I call him Dominic Szoboszlai, because it is literally SZO, so you don't pronounce the S. BOS, then ZLAI. That is for me Szoboszlai. According to the little English I know. Szoboszlai. I actually he's not English. He's Hungarian. I think he's Hungarian. So, but anyway, we are linked with Odsonne Edouard. You tell me your opinions. Would you take Odsonne Edouard? Is it time for Alexander Lacazette to leave the club? Is it just about time for Lacazette to leave the club? I didn't work in my studio. I worked on the bed. You can look at the pose. Yeah. So I worked on the bed, and I'll be working in this setting more often. Instead of missing out on content, let me work in this environment until I can find a better place to work. How do you see, guys? Tell me, would you take Odsonne Edouard? Is he a good player? What do you think about him? And what do you think about Alexander Lacazette leaving the club? I want to leave you. Of course, I'll come back later, either tomorrow or today in the evening if I have much to talk about.